Welcome, and thanks for joining us today for our 46th episode of the Restaurant Dealmaker Show, where we discuss pertinent topics regarding the food and beverage industry with industry professionals. My guest co-host today is Brian Bennett, who has, for over 40 years, built a legacy defined by operational excellence, hands-on leadership, and a deep commitment to genuine hospitality. Some of the highlights of Brian's hospitality career include being the opening chef at the famous Hotel Mac restaurant in Point Richmond in 1979. Then in 1987, Brian joined as an entry-level position at Chevy's Fresh Mex and rose to the position of Vice President of Operations, where he helped scale the company from 6 locations to more than 145 locations nationwide through 2004. In 2005, Brian co-founded Paul Martin's with Paul Martin, emphasizing high quality food and exceptional dining experiences, and they expanded to multiple locations and achieved an annual revenue of $62 million. In 2019, Brian and his wife, Susan, began Bennett Hospitality Group, and they opened its first location, Bennett's Kitchen Bar Market in Roseville. The quick casual concept with a unique market of homemade grab-and-go items quickly became a local favorite, leading to the opening of a second location, Bennett's American Cooking in Sacramento in 2021. The success of these 2 restaurants solidified the Bennett's reputation as top restaurateurs in the Sacramento area. With the opening of a third location in 2023, Bennett's Westside Grill in Rockland, customers enjoyed the same high quality and exceptional service that Bennett's is known for. At Bennett's restaurants, every detail is carefully crafted to provide customers with the best dining experience. Brian uses decades in the industry to meticulously plan everything from the ingredients to the atmosphere, timing of cooking, and even the flow of the dining experience. Brian was recognized as one of the top 100 chefs in America by Food and Wine magazine and was recognized by the Sacramento Press as Chef of the Year. So without further ado, I want to welcome Brian and ask him my first question. Brian, how did you get started in the food and beverage business, and what was your first job in the industry?
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
Pleasure.
My first job in the industry was a little hamburger stand on Piedmont Avenue in Oakland when I was a young man, like 14 or 15 years old. The hooks were set. I could not be in the restaurant business. It was exhilarating. It was entertaining. It was challenging. All the things that, drugs that keep me involved today. Just so cool.
So were you raised in the East Bay?
Yeah, raised in the East Bay. Yeah, Oakland.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, Piedmont Avenue. Yeah, that's become a very fashionable part of Oakland. It's a very very
Yeah, it was a
desirable
little
area.
neighborhood way back when. When I was a kid, there was horse-drawn wagons and all that jazz going on. Piedmont Avenue was a cool place to grow up. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started my career when I was 15, washing dishes at one of our family restaurants, and so I sort of got hooked there as well. And it was interesting though, because my father, before he would let me wash dishes when I was 15, I worked in a gas station for 2 years. My cousin owned a gas station, and I think the psychology was I would really appreciate washing dishes and cleaning toilets compared to cleaning lube rooms. So I went from axle grease to kitchen grease. So it was good. It was good, a good a brainwashing procedure. Which really made me appreciate the restaurant business. So what's the favorite part of your favorite part of the hospitality business?
I mean, it's so encompassing. But my favorite part is on a busy shift, watching the restaurants run the way that you think they should. In your mind, you have a vision. You have we're setting up a restaurant, or you're creating, food dishes for the plates for the dining room, and you could just see everything come together, the service, the greetings at the front door, the way things run. That's the greatest. For me, it's the feeling that, this thing can work, and it does work, and people are smiling and laughing and having a good time. And it's exhilarating. It really is.
Yeah. So today you function primarily as a general overviewer. You're not involved in the kitchen per se, are you? What is your involvement in your company today?
I'm usually in the kitchens every day. So
Really?
I spend 4 days a week in the kitchens looking at product, looking at quality, talking to the chefs and the line cooks and making sure they understand why we're doing what we're doing. And then expediting for a chef, making sure I'm looking at food and temping everything and, trying to create habits that make us successful. Yep, you bet. I still taste doing line checks and asking questions and all that stuff that makes us successful. Trying
Yes,
to teach, I would love to say the next generation, but there are a couple generations behind me, but try to teach them the right way to run a restaurant because there's not a lot of us left, independent restaurateurs.
for sure. Yes. And do you have a hard time finding really motivated people that really want to develop the same kind of passion that you have?
I don't know if you could, you can't hold yourself. You can't. So is it hard to find people that are experienced and wanting to work in the restaurant business? I think so. But are there a lot of younger people? And I mean, 26 years old or younger in our thing that are motivated and interested and want to be good at what they do? Yes. So what we have to do is, continuously train them and motivate them and make exceptions for who they are and what they are and more flexibility in scheduling than we ever have been before. I mean, there's a lot of people that work 4 hours, 4 days a week for us, that work 10 hours days and they get the time off that they need or want off. And, in the past lives, you work 5 days, you work 6 days, you did all. Now it's a whole lot. It's a whole little different paradigm, and we just roll with the punches and get these younger people motivated, and we have a lot of them. We're always looking for young people that want to get ahead.
So these people that are working just 4 hours a day, do they have another job to augment
No, I
their
misspoke. 4 days a week. They work
4 days
days
a
a
week?
week.
Okay. Full
Most of
time,
them
four
don't
days
have
a week.
other jobs. They just want time off. They want to go ride their mountain bikes. They want to travel around. They want to do,
That's cool.
you know, So there's a lot of part-timers that work for us, right? Hourly, hourly employees that get paid more than the average. They get paid like they would be, our management salaries in the high 70s to mid 80s. And you break that down by 50 hours a week, including the overtime. That's what they get paid and off they go.
I
They do
see.
a
Got
great
it.
job
Got
for
it.
us.
Sure. Cool. So what event or events have been most challenging in your career, and how have you dealt with these challenges?
Oh, there's been a lot of those events in my career. I mean, learning to be mature during my time at Chevy's. Thank God I had mentors like uh, Jim Vandercook and Bruce McDermott to help me grow up. Those guys were instrumental in just helping me grow up a little bit. And that was a difficult transition. It wasn't difficult. It was just, you're not always right, Brian. You need to think about it. But since that time, really the biggest challenge that we've overcome is the COVID issue. And when COVID came, we had just been open 6 months in our first restaurant and it closed everybody down. We were lucky enough to have been a market. So we are an essential piece and we could keep the market area open and we could do to-go food. And we really jumped on that bandwagon and managed through that. But, being in California every day is kind of a challenge in itself. But I think as a restaurateur, you get used to the challenges. I mean, a challenge is a challenge and you live for tomorrow. So let's get through today. Tomorrow's another day. The sun will come up and we're just going to keep going because every day's not roses. Some days it's not. And you just have to keep moving.
So could you give us a little bit of the history of your progress through Chevy's, how you started there, what you did initially, and then how you rose to the top of the operational level and the over 100 locations that you were
No,
responsible
I
for?
just, I just came to work as an assistant kitchen manager, um, and met a lot of great people and the opportunity. That restaurant company was not going to blow up. Was Mr. Simmons told me I'm going to build 13 restaurants and you can have one of them. Uh, that way, and then the next thing you know, that this thing called Chevy's Fresh Mex just blew up, and I was willing to go do the work because a lot of people aren't willing to move away, go away, be on the road. And the guys that ran Chevy's gave me the opportunity and hopefully I didn't let them down too many times, and I tried really hard. So I just got an opportunity to keep going and working, and all these different opportunities came along with the growth. And, you earn a little bit of the right to and get the next opportunity. I just was blessed to have great mentors and the ability and a pathway, because, a lot of times there's not that pathway when you get into the business, but because it was a small business booming, there was a pathway. Who wants to fill that role? I do. Who wants to fill that role? I'll do that. And I would just do anything. And I got to learn, purchasing, and I got to learn development. And wasn't in charge of any of those things, but I got to learn them, because when you build a new market, you have to be involved. And where's this coming from? And how are we going to get that done? And so I was exposed to this entire piece of a restaurant business that most managers, even operators, are never exposed to. We opened 100 restaurants, and, there was 144 restaurants. I was part of at least 100. I'd sit there and watch them hammer nails, and I'd hire people or watch people get hired and transition them. And it was a very exciting time, and lots of opportunity. We kid ourselves in the first 11 years at Chevy's, we moved 13. We didn't have children.
Wow.
It was easier for us to move. It wasn't easy on my wife.
For
She
sure.
went along with me. God bless her.
That was quite a feat to do that, for sure. So must have been quite a transition moving around like that. And I would assume that after that experience, you looked forward to sort of settling down and being in one place for a period of time, and not having that craziness on the personal side.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
I
nice
would
to be
think.
in one place. And we've been here now in our home 25 years. So we're happy to be here.
How did you decide on the Sacramento area?
Well, when we were building Chevys, settled here. One of my jobs with Chevys was a Northern California regional director of operations. And there was no one living here at the time. There wasn't a lot of people here compared to today, 25 years later. And we loved it. The rolling hills and the oak trees. And we're outside of Sacramento by 25 miles. So towards the foothills. We just fell in love with it. So we settled here. We really like it.
Very nice. Yeah. So what are your strongest areas of expertise, and how do you use these strengths to overcome the major challenges of the business?
My major strength is persistence, and I just don't like to give up. Whether it's wiping a plate or braising something right, or answering the phone in under 3 rings, or saying hello and goodbye to everybody. Things that matter, and it's not good. Good is the only thing that I really want to do is be great, and I want our operations to be great. Not every day are we, but we aspire to that, and I'm very persistent. And I love the business we're in. So I work, and I'm persistent about the standards and what we're doing. And I'm blessed now at Bennett's to have, a great partner, and guy's name is Craig Cunningham, who has been with me step by step over the last 7.5 years, who works harder than I do. And I've really never met somebody that works as much or more than I do. And he sure does. And he takes a little of the pressure off me, but we're all persistent in what we do. We're pretty focused on trying to be the number one food service operator, privately held restaurant business here in Sacramento County or Placer County.
Right. And from what I understand, you run a very qualitative oriented business. How did you become attuned to be focused in on quality being such an important aspect of your business?
Well, quality has always been important, even at Chevy's, believe it or not. I mean, people didn't believe it, but that's why we were so busy, because we serve fresh food made every day in every one of those restaurants. And when that guard of people were in charge of the restaurant company, the direction was pretty clear: make everything from scratch and make it good, and every day. And so, at Paul Martin's, we made everything. We one-upped it. We got out of the Mexican business and went into the bistro or grill business, and everything we did there was from scratch, and we just took it to the next level. And at Bennett's, we still make everything except for bread. It comes in from 3 different bakeries. We found people that bake for us, but we make all our own sauces. We braise our own meats. We still cut our beef. We still fillet our fish. We do a lot of things that most people don't do. We chop baby lettuce every day. We don't buy lettuce in a bag. We do a lot of things that other people don't do, and for a lot of reasons. Personally, because I think it just looks better, tastes better, it is better. And I like being in control. I like all of our operations, our people, to be in control of what we're doing. We're in control. And so if we don't do a good job, it's our responsibility, and we have to own that. And it's very evident. I mean, it's pretty, if you're touching product every day, you get to see, it just stands out. If it comes in a bag, it is what it is. They go, I don't know, that's what was in the bag. right? And this way everything is fresh. So we're really focused on being the fresh providers and trying to make sure that everything we do every day is from scratch. I mean, we go to great pains to do things the right way.
Yeah. Well, I can see how your passion for quality has led to your success. And I know that Paul Martin's is a very highly qualitative operation as well. Could you tell us a little bit about the Paul Martin experience, how you met him, and what was the result of your experience working together?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that was Paul Fleming, and he was along with I had a partner that was my partner when we started Paul Martin's and then became a partner with Paul Fleming. His name was Peter Serantoni, who was a very successful restaurateur in his own right in the Bay Area in Southern California. But at the time, the three of us got together, and Paul obviously really made it happen financially. And we all pretty much agreed that we wanted to do food from scratch. And so that's kind of how that restaurant got going. It was really, there was a lot of learning curves because, distributors didn't have organic milk this was 20 years ago. They just didn't get it yet. And we aspired to be better than everybody else. And I think when we first opened that restaurant, we really were better than everybody else, completely different. And we were really focused on making sure that the food was where it should be. And we grew that restaurant company successfully. In 2000, I don't know now, it's been 8 years since so 2018, maybe I left Paul Martin's and started Bennett's. So now we're focused on Bennett's. But working
For
with
sure.
was eye-opening and a great thrill and a pleasure. And working with Peter Serantoni was always a pleasure. So, you learn on this path as you go, and now we're at Bennett's and focused on the same things in a different millennium and having a good time.
Great. Wonderful. So there have been many changes in the industry, as we know, and, especially in California with, high operating costs, occupancy costs. In fact, an associate of mine, one of my clients, who owns a restaurant chain, well-known restaurant chain in the Bay Area, his grandchildren live in Tennessee, and he basically, goes there to visit them occasionally, and he's commenting about the fact that the minimum wage for front of the house people come down to $2 and something cents, with the meal credit and the tip credit. And the pricing structure is not that much different. So obviously the bottom line is going to be much more substantial. Plus they don't have the high insurance costs and occupancy costs. So basically their prime costs, food, at least labor is certainly much lower, and their other operational costs. In California, obviously, that's not the case. It's a total reverse. And with the passage of in April 2024, the $20 minimum wage for fast food operations franchises with 60 or more units, hitting the bar for increased labor costs throughout the state, coupled with these other items I mentioned: high occupancy costs, high insurance costs, everything else. And obviously, you as the operator can't pass on those costs dollar to dollar to the consumer, or you're not going to have many consumers. So how do you deal with all these challenges, these extraordinary challenges of just trying to make a buck and keep the same level of services, of quality food and service, et cetera, in this environment? How do you do it?
Well, I mean, it's challenging for sure, but California is its own place of business, so it's a barrier. A lot of people don't come here to do business because it's expensive and they don't want to get involved. I don't blame them. We like living here, so we decided that with Bennett's that we had to be the employer of choice and we had to follow the law, and we have to do it. We have to do it the right way. We don't have turnover. We don't have a need for hourly employees in any of our restaurants. We're fully staffed. They make good money. Is it harder to make a dollar here? Yep, it is. And do we have to make sure that we're on our feet, on our toes every day? We do. But it's part of living in. We're not going to change California, right? At least in the short term. So we have to be smart. And you're right. We can't. Someone was asking me about pricing the other day, and I go, well, we don't price it as like we should, because if we did, it would be embarrassing, right? So
Yes.
you have to just kind of manage through what people are. You have to have a value-oriented business that you can make money at. If that, and you have to pray. Well, better than pray. You have to do a great job so people want to come back, and people become your brand advocates and talk about you out, in public, and let people know what's going on, and tell them that you should go to Bennett's. They have a great reason to visit, and you have to create reasons to visit. And we have an aggressive happy hour. We have a great brunch promotion. We have a great promotion on Monday night. People get 2 entrees and a bottle of wine and 2 salads for $65 a couple. I mean, that's not like 2 or 3 entrees. It's every entree on our dinner menu. It is a aggressive promotion that keeps our restaurants busy on Monday night. Saturdays and Sundays, we have a great brunch promotion. It's 2 brunch items and a bottle of cava and all the fresh juice you want to make mimosas for, and it's $49 a couple. I mean, we have a brunch happy hour items from $9 and some at $6, so that people have a reason to come. Whether all across the calendar and every day part, there's a reason to come to Bennett's, and we try to give them that reason, so we fill all those niches.
That's great. So what you're doing basically is you're increasing your cost of goods, but you're offsetting your other costs by increasing your volume, thereby keeping your labor costs reasonable, and all your other, the flow through is there if you have volume. And so that's basically your price value, I guess, strategy. Yeah. To
Yeah,
give them
our
good
strategy
quality
is to,
with,
yep,
yeah, that certainly makes sense.
and our goal is to have prime costs at 61%. And there's some months we do better than that. A couple
That's
months we
very
don't. Just
reputable.
depends on the volume. But, it is California. So if we're close to 60 in a
Yeah,
full service restaurant with
that's excellent.
management staff, that we're very happy with, that piece of work. So we
Great.
keep pushing and we keep looking and interviewing vendors and trying to find, an alternative, but we're not going to come off the product that we sell. So when you get a New York strip at Bennett's, it's a prime piece of steak. We can buy cheaper meat, but less expensive meat, but we just don't.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's a very good strategy. And so what do your occupancy costs run typically as a percent of your sales?
Well, we try to keep a little less than 8%, and
Okay.
we'd love
That's
to get
cool.
them below 7. It's all a volume based
Sure.
situation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so when we get past a certain volume, we're always going to pay percentage rent, and the landlords, that's part of their involvement in our business, and to recapture their investment, and that's okay with us. So we're happy to pay percentage rent, but really any new deals. In our last deal was, you got to keep it really in California at 6%, because
Sure.
if you're over 6%, there's just those 2 extra percentage points the landlords want just don't make it so that we can be in that landlord paying rent in 3 years. And so
I agree.
we have to be very careful. And I think they're beginning to realize in California that it is what it is. I
Sure.
don't know.
And so when you say 6% occupancy costs, are you including any triple net costs you have to pay, pro rata share of real
Yeah.
estate taxes,
Your,
insurance,
your,
and
your,
CAM cost?
yes. I mean, those
Yes.
are costs of occupancy, right? So
Yeah.
what you rent
Yeah.
is what your CAM costs are, that whole smear needs to be 6%. And if it's less, if it's more than that, well, good luck. You better,
Yeah.
from personal opinion, you better be doing north of 6 or 7 million, and not many restaurants are doing that. If you're in a little restaurant, I don't know how you have where you get the extra income to cover the cost of the landlord. I know the
I
landlord
agree.
say, "Well, we got a lot of money in this." Well, we'll have to find a different spot.
Yeah. No, I
That's
agree
why
with
there's so
your
many empty
philosophy.
storefronts.
Yes. Yeah. There's a big vacancy factor in Sacramento. Is
I
that
don't
the
know
case?
about vacancy. I don't know. Where we trade for business, there's a few empty spaces. Downtown Sacramento, I think, is a little bit more problematic than where we are in the Fair
Yeah.
Oaks area of Sacramento. And out in Placer County, where we have 2 restaurants, I think it's a very vibrant economy out in Placer County.
I
It's
see. What are the demographics like in Placer County? You have any idea what the average incomes are there, and what the average?
I would say, well, we do it in our 3 and 5 mile rings. It's north of $100,000 a household. There's a lot of new home construction on the west side of Placer County, and the average home price out there is probably $600,000 to $900,000. All new homes, small lots.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot of homes for sale here. Currently, the marketplace isn't saturated with I wouldn't know because I'm not a realtor and I don't but I don't see many signs up in the neighborhoods when I'm driving around. We have great schools here, and we have great families here. We have a lot of entrepreneurs and professional people. There's three giant hospitals here. So there's all the people that support the hospitals living in around. So we have a diverse customer base that is making, solid money. And as long as things stay stable, they're happy to be, guests of ours and in the community.
Nice. Very nice. So are you involved in a lot of community events?
We
People
try
in
to
your
be,
company?
we try to be involved in as many as we possibly can. We do 4 or 5 big events every year with charities, and then after those, everybody's got a baseball team. There's something going on. A lot of people. So if people are a lot of causes are all good. If you come to our restaurants and you're a regular guest and you have somebody that needs something, you always can count on us supporting your cause. So whether it's a
That's
gift bag
nice.
with a bottle of wine and a gift card or a big box or a live auction item, we're always part of the community.
Yes, I can understand why you're successful based upon our discussion here today. You really keep the customer happy. That's very
We
important.
try to keep the guests
Yeah.
happy, and we want them to know that they're loved and we care about them. And we're not, you know, we're not too proud to remind them that this is a family owned business and a locally owned business. So the more they feel like you're part of our community and that
Yes,
we're part of their community, I think it's a two-way street.
absolutely. Yes. So, of all the many accomplishments that you've accomplished, and there've been plenty of them throughout your career, what single accomplishment stands out and is most meaningful to you?
I don't. There's been a bunch of them in my life. I mean, watching Chevy's just boom was certainly overwhelming, prideful with all the people. I mean, I was a small cog in that wheel, and I was a cog in the growing of Paul Martin's. But Bennett's, day to day as we grow our Bennett's brand, and working with my 26-year-old daughter who came back from school and decided she wanted to be in the restaurant business, and working side by side with her every day, working on how the business runs, and has been, I think being part of the family is pretty cool too. So if there's three big time tranches or chapters in my book, one was Chevy's, one is Paul Martin's, and the final chapter I think is the Bennett's Restaurant Group.
So, obviously, your daughter was exposed to all your demands that presented themselves to you through your career in the restaurant business. So, she saw that and she had a pretty good heads up as to what she was going to get into. And so, what was her history in the restaurant business, your daughter?
Her history is about around us, but she went to Cal Poly, and then COVID hit and she came back and she goes, I'm going to help you guys run your restaurants. And she hasn't left.
Nice.
And
That's great.
it's I promised my wife I would never ask Margot to be part of our business because she thinks anyone that works like we do we're nuts. And my daughter is just, it's just decided. She told
That's
us, I'm coming to work for you. And she told me, okay, I know how to run her. I'm getting really good at running this restaurant thing. I want to take over banquets and caterings and all those special events that we do. So she's in charge of that now. And it's a family work, and it's a good thing.
That's very nice. So, do you see her eventually succeeding you and keeping the company?
Somebody better. I mean, my partner Craig is 20 years younger than I am, and she's 20 years younger than
Okay,
Craig. So it's a natural,
that's nice.
so maybe together they can work together and figure out how to put me somewhere that other than in the restaurants every day.
Well, you will always be there in spirit and be looked upon as being the person responsible for setting the bar and maintaining the quality operation that you have. So, what are the qualities of a good leader that you regularly practice?
Great communication. What I've learned late in my career is patience, to listen to other people, even though in my mind I think they're not right, but just sit there and listen to them and let them explain to stuff, and learn from those experiences that I'm not right a lot of the time. And there's a different way of looking at things. I think that's important. Tenacity is important in leadership and caring. So if you care about what goes on in your business and your people, and you care about your business, and you listen to the people that are working in your business and those that, complain to you about your business, you can cut out all the stuff in their complaint, but in there are always nuggets of truth that you can learn from. So I think, you have to be a good leader. You want to be it. B, you really want to be perseverant. You want to make sure that if you say this has to be this way, that you're following up and you're talking to people, and you have to communicate that effectively so people can understand in their own terms on how it is that you want this to be. And so they can benefit. But it's a, in today's world, like I think in all worlds, all over the time, it's just a little different to communicate today than it was 30 years ago, or maybe I'm just better at it today than I was 30 years ago. We really have to talk a lot and listen to people and show them and be part of it. That's why I like to be in the restaurants every day. If I can do it, you can do it. If I can bust a table or answer a phone or greet at the door, not that hard. You can help me too.
Sure. So you obviously, from your years of experience, you have a lot of empathy and you understand compassion and dealing with people, which I'm sure is very important in terms of your success and being able to relate and communicate to people. And I'm being very consistent with, providing the leadership role and again, having empathy and understanding and really motivating these people. And I'm sure they look to you as sort of the model that they would like to be or achieve, the qualities that you basically radiate, so to speak, that you practice daily. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I practice it. It's important, but I think our managers do a better job of it than I do. And I think, my daughter and Craig do a much better job of it than I do. They are compassionate and much more thoughtful in communicating than I am. But, to be part of it is important. And leaders
Sure.
all have their roles. My role is
Yeah.
to kind of be in the background and let those guys do their job.
Yeah. But they know you're there and you set the bar and they appreciate that. And as long as that occurs, the business will thrive, hopefully. Technology is affecting our industry, the hospitality industry, like it's affecting everything else. And how you adapted your business to deal with the technology and how's that impacted operations for you?
Well,
But what POS system do you use?
Oh, we use an antiquated one called silverware. And the
Okay.
reason that we use silverware is because 8 years ago when we started this concept, we wanted to have tear rate. And tear rate means that we cut steaks and people buy steaks. We take them to the table. They're shrunk wrapped. We say, which steak would you like? They pick that steak. We weigh it and then we charge them for that, but it scans. So no one had that capability. Now, 4 or 5 of the major POS systems have the tear weight so we could change if we chose to. So that's but behind the scenes, we use, a lot of all of the program that you would for writing schedules on its own platform, for managing payroll on its own platform, for managing our 401k and all of that kind of stuff is all on their own platforms that integrate to our own platform. Our bookkeeping and accounting systems are close to being fully automated. Well, as much as you can, as far as the managers scanning their invoices daily for them to be so they can populate their cost of sales the next day on their computers, on their dashboard so they can see it. So I can monitor it. So I pay every bill in the restaurant company. So I can look at the bills that are due and make sure that we're not overpaying. And so from that perspective, I think we're close to being where we want to be. Technology, but it constantly changes, right? We use Open Table to manage our online reservations and systems and all of the Open Tables integrated with our POS, so we can see the real time data coming in. And we still answer our own phones. We don't use AI a lot, at least for myself personally, and to answer phones or do that stuff. I still think there's a little bit of work to do when it comes to that AI part. But to tell you that we're not using it to process invoices probably be a mistake. Anyway,
Yeah,
we're embracing it as much as we can, as fast as we can.
sure. Sounds that way. So has takeout and delivery become a meaningful part of your business?
Delivery, really during COVID really helped. I mean, it's 5% of our business. And I mean, it costs us a lot of money to DoorDash, and we're working with a local Bay Area company, I think, to see if we can't usurp the DoorDash demand. We'll let you know how that runs. Using the same drivers, to keeping the commissions, but still having to set this whole thing up. So we're in the middle of that process. And I hope to have that complete in the next 30 to 45 days, where you can go online to our website and order delivery, and you can order delivery, pay online. It'll go directly to our POS systems, and it gets delivered by the same group of drivers that drive for Uber and DoorDash and all that other stuff. And there's a fixed delivery cost, which we're going to pay part of, but there's no commission. So, I mean, last year, I think our commissions were north of $300,000 to DoorDash. So, we'd prefer to have that money for us, to
Yes,
pay our investors with. So, yeah.
sure. Understood. So what are your future growth plans?
Oh, growth is, California's a changing landscape. I think with all that's going on in today's world, our best opportunity is to tighten up what we're doing in our three restaurants, make sure that they're fiscally sound, and continue to grow sales, which we've been able to do. And let's just see what ends up at the end of 2026. As we know, as we have this conversation, there's a ton of things going on. Oil's at $100. I'm not crying foul or any of that. I'm just saying it's a good time to wait and a good time to focus, on what we're doing. And if the cards say grow, then we grow. But right now we're really focused on keeping the three restaurants on a positive track and seeing if we can't
Sure.
continue to create value.
I'm sure with your great reputation, you have plenty of opportunities that are presented to you on a regular basis.
But they got to be 30 minutes from my home. So
okay, I got it.
If
That
they're
makes
not
sense.
30 minutes from my home, that we're not entertaining them. So that leaves most of the world out these days. In the past, I'd get on a plane and go somewhere, but I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, you've had enough of that for sure. Sure. Well,
Sure.
Brian, I want to thank you for this very informative presentation and for making so many contributions to the food and beverage industry in terms of setting standards of excellence and raising the bar for food quality and excellent service. If someone wants to reach you, what is the best way to do so?
Brian at BennettHG.com. That's Brian at Bennett, BENNETT, HG, like hospitality group.com. And I'm there. That's the easiest way to do it.
We appreciate that. So if you have questions from this presentation, please email them to me at steve@restaurantrealty.com, and I will respond to you shortly after the show. Our immediate future Dealmaker show co-hosts for 2026 include, in April, Faz Qureshi. Faz has been a well-known chef owner for many restaurants throughout the Bay Area for several decades. He's currently the owner of the famous MacArthur Park restaurant, Palo Alto, and Faz Restaurant Catering in San Jose. Additionally, in May, we have Stacy Scott, who is one of the leading catering owners in the Bay Area, and she's been in business for close to 40 years, and she has done events for Martha Stewart, Kanye West, Bruce Springsteen, and Robert Plant, among just a few of the celebrities that she has actually catered for. We'll be announcing the rest of our Dealmaker co-hosts in the near future. I want to thank you all for joining us. And if you want to get in touch with me, I've already mentioned, email me at steve@restaurantrealty.com, or I can be reached toll free at 888-995-9701. Take care of yourself, take care of others, and stay well. And again, thank you, Brian, for the excellent participation and informative information that you gave us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.